Beans.
The woman sat behind the wheel of the old blue sedan, raindrops pelting the windshield as she finished refueling at the remote gas station. It was situated in a desolate area, miles away from the nearest town, with only one other customer present. A creepy red pickup sat at the furthest pump. As she pulled out of the gas station, the rhythmic drumming of the rain against the car's roof couldn't drown out the feeling that something was amiss. In her rearview mirror, she noticed the menacing red pickup truck following her out of the gas station, its headlights reflecting off the wet pavement. Just a coincidence, she tried to convince herself, but the rain seemed to intensify, matching her growing unease. The truck relentlessly stayed behind her as she continued down the empty road, its tires hissing on the rain-soaked asphalt. Unease crept over her as she realized the truck mimicked her every move. If she sped up, it did too. When she passed another vehicle, the truck did the same. Suddenly, the truck's high beams pierced the rain-drenched darkness, blinding her for what felt like an eternity. Maybe he just wants to pass me, she thought, but fear was gnawing at her. She decided to take a different, less traveled route home, but to her horror, the truck followed her onto the narrow back road, rain-slicked and treacherous. Panic surged within her. I need to escape, she thought, pushing her car's speed to the limit, raindrops streaking across her windows. But the truck's driver persisted, toggling the high beams on and off in a bizarre pattern, creating a disorienting dance of light and rain. Questions raced through her mind. What does he want? Why won't he leave me alone? The high beams flashed again. She accelerated, desperate to shake off her pursuer, but he clung to her like a shadow, rain-soaked and relentless. Finally, she arrived at her remote farmhouse and dashed inside, yelling for her father to call the police. Out in the driveway, the truck's driver stepped out, rain dripping from his clothes, and brandishing a gun. When the police arrived and confronted him, he pointed to the woman's car and revealed the shocking truth. Hidden behind the driver's seat, drenched and determined, was a knife-wielding man who had slipped into her car at the gas station. The truck's driver had witnessed the sinister act but had chosen to follow her through the relentless rain rather than leave her alone with the unknown assailant. Each time the man in the backseat made a move, the truck's driver had used his high beams to thwart him, keeping the woman safe until help arrived amidst the relentless downpour.
The Hookman.
In the year 1950, Peggy, a teenage girl with a date planned with her steady boyfriend, Bobby, was meticulously preparing herself for the evening. As she adorned herself in her finest attire, the ambiance in her room was shattered by a radio news flash, its unsettling content gnawing at her nerves.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your regular programming for an urgent broadcast. We bring you unsettling news from our region. A serial killer has escaped from a local prison, and he's extremely dangerous.
If you encounter an individual with a hook for a hand or anything that raises suspicion, do not engage.
Despite the disconcerting broadcast, Peggy resolved to meet Bobby and another couple for a night at the drive-in movie theater. The four teenagers believed the safety of a crowded area would shield them from harm, especially in their peaceful small town. After the film's credits rolled, Bobby kindly dropped off the other couple at their respective homes, leaving him and Peggy alone as they headed towards the secluded lover's lane. In the dimly lit haven, they set the mood with romantic melodies and began engaging in typical teenage activities. However, their moment of bliss was abruptly interrupted by another ominous radio bulletin.
Urgent message. Reports of a potential threat. A hitchhiker north of town near Lover's Lane. While not confirmed as the hook-handed killer, exercise caution. Do not pick up hitchhikers, report suspicious activity to local authorities immediately, and stay safe indoors, especially after dark. Your safety is our priority. Now, back to your regular programming.
Peggy's unease escalated, but Bobby persisted in reassuring her that they were safe.
Just as Peggy began to let her guard down and return to their amorous rendezvous, a sudden thud resounded against her car door. The noise sent her into paroxysms of terror as she frantically implored Bobby to take her home. Irritated by her outburst and his thwarted plans, Bobby reluctantly agreed and sped off towards her house.
The car ride was fraught with a chilly silence, their anger simmering beneath the surface. When Bobby eventually pulled up to Peggy's house, he petulantly refused to open the car door for her as a juvenile form of punishment for her behavior. Peggy, equally determined to stand her ground, wordlessly exited the vehicle. As she turned to slam the door with all her might, a sudden realization washed over her, turning her complexion ghostly pale before she collapsed.
Panicking, Bobby leapt out of the car to assist her, and that's when he saw it. A blood-soaked hook embedded in the car's door handle, an ominous reminder of the lurking danger they had narrowly escaped.
The black ribbon.
Long ago, a young man met and fell in love with a beautiful young woman. She was always dressed exquisitely, her ebony hair cascading over her shoulders, and she always wore a black ribbon around her neck. Soon, the man and the woman were married and moved into a little cottage by the sea. Their love was a beacon of happiness, but an enigma lurked in the shadow of her beauty, the black ribbon around her neck. It fascinated him, and he yearned to uncover its secret. As days turned into months, curiosity gnawed at the man's soul. He couldn't resist the urge any longer and decided to confront his wife about the ribbon. Her eyes, usually filled with warmth, turned cold as ice. She whispered that he would rue the day he asked. The ribbon remained untouched. The young man's discontent grew, and his thoughts became consumed by that mysterious black ribbon. It haunted his dreams and overshadowed their once harmonious life together. One fateful morning, he awoke before his wife, his mind consumed by an insatiable desire for answers. He tiptoed to her sewing box, retrieved a pair of gleaming scissors, and, with trembling hands, cut through the ribbon that had held his wife's secret. His wife's eyes shot open, terror etched across her face. In an instant, her head rolled from her neck and landed with a gruesome thud upon the floor. A spine-chilling scream pierced the air, but it was her head that shrieked, "I told you you'd be sorry." The man staggered back in horror, realizing the truth too late. His wife's headless form stood before him, a ghastly specter seeking revenge. The room filled with a chilling silence as he faced the nightmarish consequences of his curiosity, his own life forever entwined with the dreadful mystery of the black ribbon.
The clown statue.
Christy, a teenager, was babysitting in a lavish home for a wealthy family. The parents were heading out for a late dinner and movie, instructing her to stay in the den once the kids were in bed. Their expansive house had an excessive number of rooms. After putting the kids to sleep, Christy settled in the den to watch TV. However, her tranquility was shattered by the unsettling presence of a clown statue in the corner. She tried to ignore it, but her fear grew unbearable. With trembling fingers, she called the father, hoping he would tell her to go into a different room. When he answered, she explained, "The kids are in bed, but that clown statue is really unsettling me." The father's tone grew grave. "Get the kids, go next door, and call 911. Puzzled and anxious, Christy asked, "Why, what's happening?" He said, "Just do it. Call the police, then call me back." She hung up, hurried and gathered the children, sought refuge in the neighbor's house, and dialed 911. Once the police were on their way, she called the father again, her voice trembling, "Please, tell me what's going on." Chills went down her spine when he responded, "We don't have a clown statue.